Hey everyone, welcome back to the Better Dispensing video series. I'm Tom Massino, Application Specialist for Nordson EFD. And in this video, we'll talk about piston bounce, what it is and how to fix it. But before we begin, let me show you what a properly installed piston looks like. As you can see, the bottom dome of the piston is completely submerged in the fluid. This is what you want it to look like. As the syringe barrel empties, the piston should always be resting directly on top of the fluid. And here's what you don't want it to look like. Piston bounce is what happens when air gets trapped below the piston, causing it to separate from the fluid. This can cause oozing and drooling that leads to rejects, rework, and slower production. The top 4 causes of piston bounce are an improperly inserted piston, air bubbles entrapped in your fluid, frozen fluid that's not thawed properly, and high-speed micro-dispensing of thick pastes. Let's start with how to install a piston. When you top fill a syringe, you need to manually insert the piston. As you're pushing down, you might feel some resistance or back pressure. This is due to the air trapped below the piston. If you don't push past this pressure, you'll get piston bounce. The easiest way to fix this is to lightly squeeze the sides of the syringe and then push down until the bottom of the piston gets submerged into the fluid. And when it comes to bottom filling, EFD's white smooth flow piston is ideal because of its precision molded channels and fine wiper surface that allow air bubbles to rise and escape, leaving you with an air-free syringe. We can even pre-install the pistons for you. Now let's talk about air bubbles. One of the most common causes of piston bounce is air entrapped in your fluid. Even if you get your fluid prepackaged, changes in pressure and vibration during shipping can cause air bubbles to form. These bubbles expand and contract, forming larger air pockets, which can cause piston bounce. You can fix this in one of 2 ways. You can degas medium to high viscosity fluids with a centrifuge. Simply place your syringe into the centrifuge and run it according to the instructions. Or you can stand the barrels with the tip end down and let them settle for about 24 hours. This works only with the low to medium viscosity fluids. Air bubbles will rise to the top. Simply squeeze the sides of the barrel and slightly push the piston to re-establish contact with the fluid. So now let's talk about frozen fluid. Although it may be tempting to speed up the thawing process, it's important to remember that frozen fluid thaws at a different rate than frozen plastic. The laws of chemistry and physics aren't any different in your manufacturing facility than anywhere else. If it's not thawed properly, you can get air bubbles in the material between the inside wall of the syringe and the fluid, which is called a freeze-thaw void, or FTV for short. The last cause of piston bounce is high-pressure micro-dispensing of thick pastes, specifically when you're dispensing through a small tip at high cycle rates. This creates the perfect environment for piston bounce as air pushes past the wipers and forms underneath the piston. When this happens, you should specify Nordson EFD's Optimum Clear Flex piston. So to recap, there are a bunch of ways to eliminate piston bounce. Install your piston properly, use a centrifuge to get rid of air bubbles, thaw out frozen material based on manufacturer specs, and if you're dispensing a thick paste at high pressure and high cycle rates, use Nordson EFD's Clear Flex piston. And as always, if you have any questions or need samples, contact your local EFD sales rep or visit our website. That about does it for me. I'll see you soon.